Greetings. My name is Lauren, and I enjoy friendships all over the world. I bring to you my friend, Dr. Jabor, to read to you passages from his book, Unshackled and Growing. In addition, a PDF version of the book in English is available to you for free on the website friendshippathways.com. I present to you the episode, Surpassing the Law.
Surpassing the law. Much like the traffic laws of today, many of the Old Testament religious civil laws dealt with conduct and behavior rather than with attitudes and motives. Traffic violations are not measured by the intention of the person, but by how fast he was driving and what laws he has broken. These laws are minimal and serve as a babysitter or a guardian, preparing us for the heart and the intent of the law. In the Sermon on the Mount, we see not the minimum law, but a surpassing of the law. Jesus did not abolish the Old Testament law. Rather, he showed us what is behind it and invited us to aim higher. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." And he did. He revealed to us the intent of the law and focused on motives and attitudes rather than on conduct and behavior. For example, rather than addressing adultery, a behavior, he addressed the source of adultery. He said in Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 and 28, "You have heard that it was said, 'Do not commit adultery.' But I tell you that if anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." If the focus is on the behavior only and not on the source of the behavior, which has to do with motives, then a person could easily become like the Pharisees, whom Jesus described this way. "Hypocrites, you are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean." Jesus invited us to the heart of the law and to a focus on the inner being and character rather than the externals. Another purpose of the law was to remind us of our sins and our need for forgiveness. When we look at the Sermon on the Mount, we do not see a God who is a harsh judge, making us jump through hoops to please him. The Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7 shows us what God is really like. He is righteous and compassionate. The sermon draws us to God and to his absolute standards and gives us a realistic estimate of who he is and who we are. Still, another purpose of the law was to be a mirror, an MRI, or a measuring stick that shows us what we are really like. If the mirror is cracked, it will fall to show us the details of what we are really like. If the measuring stick is made of rubber and can be stretched, it will fall to accurately measure. If the spiritual laws are diluted to match our ability to live up to them, like Mr. Deedat thought, then these laws have lost their ability to awaken our consciences. Civil laws should deal with the minimum requirements that allow people to live with mutual respect and consideration for one another. These laws should protect us from things like traffic accidents and stealing from one another. Spiritual laws, on the other hand, draw us to what God is like and far surpass the civil laws. In the Sermon on the Mount, God's absolute standards are revealed, and we see who we really are and what we are like. As we look at the perfect mirror, we see our true selves without deception or compromise. In aiming at His perfect and absolute standards, we move in our pursuit of holiness. When working on their shooting skills, beginners as well as professionals shooters aim at the bull's eye. The beginners are not encouraged to shoot at the outer rims just because they are beginners. Like the pros, the beginners are trained to aim for the bull's eye, the center of the target. Without absolute standards, everything becomes relative, and people do what looks good in their own eyes. Another major purpose of the law is to help us realistically see our depravity, shame, and defilement, najasa, and give up on the false notion that we can satisfy the absolute demands of God. Unless we despair of our efforts to climb the ladder to trying to please God, we will never be ready to accept God's gracious offer of forgiveness and full acceptance. When we focus on the law as a ladder that we can climb, we become self-centered in our rigorous religiosity, and our perception of God is marred. If, on the other hand, we see what God is really like, His righteousness and compassion, then we are humbled before Him. We despair of our attempts to earn His acceptance and fall on our knees before Him in true submission. Submission is the meaning of the word Islam.